right. Okay. I'm going to call this meeting of the Economic Development Authority to order. I'm going to do a quick roll call. Yang is excused. Alder Morgan.
Present.
John Kelwartz is here. Glenn Sherman is excused. Ace Champion. Jim Ritterbush.
Here.
Steve Strubis. Here. All right. We have a quorum. 4-0. Thank you. Ask for approval of the agenda, if we could, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
We have a second for that?
I'll second it.
Okay. Yeah, okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. Thank you. Approval of the minutes from November 7th, 2022. Could I please have any changes or questions on the minutes? It's been a while since we had a meeting, so. If there are no questions or comments, could I have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay.
A second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Can I
No,
have?
Jim can second, he wasn't here that.
Right. That's what's kind of leery.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. Yep.
Oh, okay.
John, would you be willing to,
I can second.
Okay.
sorry.
Oh, good catch. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, on to regular business. Item E1 is election of officers. Because we have a couple folks missing today, we are going to suggest that perhaps be held over to the next meeting. Could we have a motion to hold, please?
A motion to hold.
I'll second it.
Morgan, second by Ritterbush. Okay, any questions or comments on that? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. All right, item E2, consideration with possible action on a request to sell city-owned parcel 21-4113 located near 3135 Greenview Drive.
All right, I can take that one. I have a few images here to share. All right, so as the Economic Development Authority, you guys are actually tasked with acquiring and helping to sell city-owned properties as opposed to redevelopment authority-owned properties. And the city did acquire this parcel and some adjacent parcels out on the east side of town way back in 1991. I believe this was possibly acquired as part of the adjacent park project. This is a parcel that it's vacant. It's located on unimproved roadway on Greenview Drive. It looks like this area of town was platted for development one day. That development has not happened in the several years that we've owned this property. We've been approached by the adjacent landowner. You can see in the aerial here, there's actually a shed on this property and some improvements on it that the adjacent property owner had put on that site. Unknowingly or knowingly, I'm not sure, but they've got improvements on there, and so they would like to go ahead and acquire this parcel. Our real estate specialist on the staff, Rhonda Bitney, has been working with them and has recommended we go ahead and sell this parcel for $30,000. That's fair market value. Oh, yep, we got another one. So yes, that's the staff recommendation. It's the buyer is interested in just keeping this undeveloped as part of their side yard and combining those two parcels into one. So because there is no active city uses on this parcel and there's no immediate or long-term plans to use it for city purposes, we are going to go ahead and recommend approval of the sale of this parcel for $30,000. Are there any questions?
Is that what it's valued at for the tax thing? Basically?
Yes. Yep, right around $30,000.
We originally looked at the possibility of splitting part of that parcel off, but then we would create a lot that wasn't in conformance with the rest of the neighborhood. So we're like, let's just sell it, fix that area. Because if on that map, there's a number of parcels that could potentially be redeveloped to the, where am I?
South.
To the south of that
Yeah.
as well, but because there's no street improvements there, we just felt like the best way to remedy that situation would be to sell it. And he's willing to pay fair market value for the lot, so that would come back to the city.
Make the motion, we sell it to them then. It's not doing anything good, just sitting there.
Get it back on the tax rolls.
Yep.
Second?
Morgan? We have motion and a second. Any other questions or comments? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that is approved, thank you. Item E3, consideration with possible action to approve a one-year planning option extension to On Broadway Incorporated for parcels 4-83, 4-82, 4-81, and 4-80.
All right, I've got this one too. A little over a year ago, this body considered a planning option to On Broadway Inc. The city owns a few parcels shown on the map here, 4 parcels, behind what many of us know as Old Ford Square. On Broadway is planning on improving their building, Old Ford Square building, which they own, into the public market. That's a multi-year initiative. They're currently raising funds and working with their consultants to build out that property. Their concept is hopefully to one day acquire these parcels and some other adjacent redevelopment authority-owned parcels for the purposes of potentially housing, also potentially a parking structure to support the public market. They requested that planning option a year ago. It's a big project. They've been working with developers on this plan. It's still not quite figured out. They're requesting an additional year to continue their research to fully scope out this proposal. So they've come back and requested one additional year for this planning option. And we'll also be taking this request to the redevelopment authority for the RDA-owned properties. Anything to add to that, Neil? I know you've been working with Brian a lot more.
No, obviously, just in this financing environment, it's tough sledding for any development, let alone a project of this kind of complexity in nature. So we're certainly still very in favor and supportive of the project. They continue to make progress with, I think, some anchor tenants and so forth. So I think, certainly allowing for an additional year is certainly more than warranted in this case. So.
I was just going to say, if they can do anything to help our housing market here, that would be wonderful. And if they can keep businesses coming to Broadway, that sounds like a great plan to me, so I would be for it.
You just definitely gotta need parking now.
It's just to hold the option open on whether or not they want to buy it.
Yep.
Yeah, just allow them.
One year
Essentially, they're getting that to try to identify, like through either an RFP or identify a developer to actually come in to do the project. So trying to find somebody who's willing to actually do not only the housing project, but then figure out a way to kind of incorporate the public parking aspect in it as well.
The actual sale will be also approved by this body at some point.
At some
Yes.
point in time,
Yes.
Let's just keep the option open.
Absolutely. Excellent question.
1 year extension. I'd make that motion.
Motion by Jim.
I'll second it.
Here.
Welcome, Ace.
Thank you. Sorry, I was having trouble logging on. I had to restart my phone 3 times. But I am here.
We got you. Can you hear us okay, Ace? Everything's good?
Yeah, everything's all good.
Excellent.
We're good now.
Good deal, all right. All right, so we have a motion by Jim to approve, seconded by Alder Morgan. Any other questions or comments on the item? If not, we'll ask for voice vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? right, that motion carries. All right. So item E4 is consideration with possible action on the request by city staff to get board direction on next steps for the Grandview Industrial Park expansion project. Of course, I just want to read, this is, the authority may convene closed session pursuant to sections 19.85, parent 1, parent E, with stats for purposes of deliberating or negotiating sale of public properties, investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business as necessary for competitive or bargaining reasons. The authority will thereafter reconvene in open session pursuant to section 19.85, parent 2, Wisconsin statutes, to take actions on items discussed in closed sessions if appropriate, and to consider the remainder of the agenda. So we'll make sure that language was read. I guess this is just a couple of comments here before we get into this one. This has obviously been a long time process. I've certainly been on board for about just a little over 2 years now, and I know Ms. Castor is here. We've had conversations at least that amount of time, if not before. And I know staff has been working on this well before I was here. So we're excited to be kind of at this point for an update on some direction and requesting some concept reviews and so a couple of alternatives that we'll be presenting to the board and asking for some direction on as we go forward here. With that, we'll certainly, obviously, there's going to be a lot of other things that still are going to require approvals. Certainly some action by this board in terms of direction, but also onto the city council at some point before some other things. But this is an important kind of first step, and I think in moving some alternatives forward. So we appreciate the time and consideration for that today. So with that, I think, actually, I was going to see if we can ask for a motion to open the floor, because I think Ms. Lemieux had a few comments you wanted to make before we went into that.
I make the motion to open the floor.
This, open the floor. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, that's approved 5-0.
Okay.
Floor is yours, Barb.
Hey, good evening, everyone. I'm Barb Lemieux, President and CEO of New North. We are the 18-county economic development corporation covering Northeast Wisconsin. I want to first compliment your team, Neil, Wendy, Matt. We work very, very well together. When site requests come in, if they don't specifically say the city of Green Bay, if it's 18 counties northeast, or if it's Brown, Kewaunee, Sheboygan counties, if they're generic, all of those come through New North. And then we reach out to our local partners to make sure we're not leaving any opportunity on the sidelines. So we evaluate our sites and buildings, and we package up the response back to the site consultant or back to the company itself. Wendy had just asked if I could just give briefly kind of, the trends that we're seeing. Last year we worked 27 projects. Many of those are still open. These don't happen overnight. But the trend we are seeing is these requests are getting larger. It's larger tracts of land. It's more square footage on the type of property that they wish to build. We pulled some stats for the city of Green Bay in 2021. The average request statewide was 50 acres, some larger, some smaller than that. The average size of industrial park sites in our New North region, our specific requests were 80 acres. So it ranged anywhere from 200 to, we've gotten some requests in of a prospect needing 250 acres for a rather large development. That was in 2021. In 2022, the average site search for the state of Wisconsin was 55 acres. And here in our New North region, it was 150 acres was the average. So I think, and we're starting to see that continuing into 2023. I think part of that reason is we know we're a manufacturing region, ag, food production, industrial metals, and because of the type of industries that we have a core competency here, typically those, when they're doing an expansion, or if it's a relocation of a business or a brand new business coming into our region, they're seeking those larger opportunities. So I just wanted to just make a couple of comments. One, we very much enjoy working with your staff and getting these projects to come through, and in this case, landing within the city of Green Bay. And secondly, just kind of the trends we're seeing. So if you have an opportunity to expand your industrial, your business parks, it's a good use of taxpayer dollars, in my opinion, having that available. We have a certified site program, and time is money to developers, so they often don't want to wait till we can work with 7, 8, 10 property owners to assemble the tract of land that they need. They want to be able to move in very, very quickly, do their due diligence, work directly with the municipality on the transfer of ownership and getting the project underway. So I'd be happy to address any questions that anyone has.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, Thank you, Barb.
All right, I will depart then, let you guys go into closed session.
Thanks, Barb.
You're
Pat,
welcome.
you want to hop up and say anything?
My name is Pat Castor, and I am an owner of the property east of the business park right now. And we want to support the city, and we want to let you know that we're ready to work with you. We have a kind of complex ownership, but we should be able to get through that, and we'd like you to go ahead forward. We know that it would be good for the city. Thank you.
That's why we have Pat working that into the aisle too, because of the complexity on that.
Thank you for being
Thank you,
here.
Pat, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
All right, can I have a motion to close the floor?
Motion to close the floor.
Second it.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. With that,
Closed session.
I think we need a motion to close session, please, yep.
I'll second that.
So we're gonna do that.
Shut the door.
I think we'll do that by here, so do that by a roll call.
We need-
Yep, I think we're good.
It doesn't have
That's got
record.
that one go. There we go.
The record is not bad.
It says recording, we're good.
Okay,
Yep.
all right.
All right, we'd ask for a motion to go back into open session, please.
I make a motion, we go back into open session.
Okay,
I'll second it.
all right, motion by Alder Morgan, seconded by Mr. Ritterbush. Any questions or comments? If not, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No, we'll go back to there. Excellent, thank you, everyone. Would ask for a motion to proceed for staff to proceed as directed in closed session.
I make a motion that we proceed with staff as was discussed in open session.
Closed session, yes, sir. Very good.
Closed
Yep,
session,
yes, sir.
I'm sorry.
Nope, that's good. Can I have a second, please?
I'll second that motion.
All right. All right, any questions on that? Do we, if so, if all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? All right, thank you very much. All right, we are on to informational Brownfields program update. Matt?
All right. I will keep this fairly brief, since I know we've already had a pretty robust meeting, but if there's ever a question, please feel free to ask it, and we can talk as much as you'd like. So the EDA, for our new folks, is also our Brownfields Advisory Committee, as viewed by the EPA, U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. The City of Green Bay has a handful of federal EPA grants, and we're therefore required to share information on these programs with the public, and also work with you all to get coordination to help us manage these programs. So every EDA meeting, usually, we provide an update of our brownfields work. Currently, we actually have 2 applications for 2 additional grants that are being considered. We hope to hear back in May whether or not those are going to be awarded. One is a $500,000 community-wide assessment grant. We've had several assessment grants over the years. We're out of funds, so this would replenish this program. It would allow us to do additional phase 1 and phase 2 environmental site assessment work, additional remedial action planning, also asbestos and lead testing. This is a tremendous resource we've been able to provide to developers, also for our own city and RDA-owned properties that we're trying to get cleaned up. we've taken a number of brownfield sites, assessed them, and then actually gotten them to clean status and redeveloped. So if we get that grant, it'll be very important for us to continue that work that we've been doing for so long. Additionally, we are applying for $1 million for a cleanup grant, and that is actually going to be put towards our Badger sheet metal site. This is a site that the Redevelopment Authority owns on South Broadway. We acquired this back in 2017, 2018 for the purposes of getting this cleaned up and redeveloped. It's just north of 4.5 acres. We used our former assessment grants to poke holes throughout this property, and we do have quite a bit of contamination here. Interestingly, this was also the site of an old slough that ran through the city. They filled it in the early 1900s with all sorts of nasty soils.
Is that Trinity? Where am I?
Yep.
Yeah, Trinity's
Yeah.
right over here. We are working with a developer on this site. They've got a term sheet that we've got approved. They're working towards the development agreement stage with them. They're proposing 238 units of housing, ground floor commercial. That's still being negotiated, but getting this cleanup grant, that $1 million would really help us get that project up and running. So we'd use that to basically excavate a lot of the contaminated soil. We'd be putting in a green infrastructure corridor. Because this was an old sluice site, we've got flooding on this quite often because that water still wants to go where it wants to go. So the green infrastructure corridor would help soak up some of that runoff. The funds would also be used to demo the building. So we would hopefully hear back here in May on that and be able to start spending down those dollars as early as July. So we're crossing our fingers on those 2 applications.
Can I ask a dumb question?
Shithole that's been sitting there forever.
Yeah. What's your question?
First floor commercial?
Yeah.
Okay, good luck.
Hopefully so. It's Broadway. It's a prominent commercial corridor.
It's kind of Broadway prominent commercial corridor. It's like 4 blocks from a
It's
prominent.
kind of the start of the shipyard district now.
Yep,
all
this is
right,
right
okay,
across the
I'll
street
take that.
from the
That makes
shipyard,
sense.
actually. So we've
Okay.
been,
Yep.
we've actually been really lucky
I
with.
think it'll do good once that whole,
We had 450 apartment units in the area.
that whole thing gets done on the river there, that could be some prime area.
Yeah, we've had actually 2 free technical assistance grants from EPA for planning for this whole corridor. We've worked with the residents and business owners down here on developing some concepts for redevelopment, this being one of them. And we think, commercial would be hard, but, it's the appropriate use for Broadway. And with those additional units coming online, we think it'll be viable. We'll just keep strolling along here.
Markets building, I think that's gonna be prime area.
Yeah, this is the bottom image there is the concept of that green infrastructure corridor. So it would be somewhere for the water to collect. Also, it would be a great pedestrian connector between the shipyard and Seymour Park to the west, that whole neighborhood right there. Right now, these residents don't really have a way to connect through here unless you go through Arndt. So this will be a great improvement. I'm going to give a quick plug to our revolving loan funds. A couple years ago, the EPA gave us $800,000 to create a new revolving loan fund specifically for the cleanup of brownfield sites. We've not had any takers on those loan funds yet. When interest rates were low, this was not as attractive because there are federal strings on this program being funded by EPA. But now that the interest rates are so high, we've had a lot of interest. We've had several pre-application meetings with 2 developers on 2 separate sites. We're getting really close, I think, to getting to the application stage. Wendy and I have had meetings with Milwaukee as well recently. They've had this program up and running in their city for it's like a couple decades.
Yeah, it's impressive, but I think it is 20 years or so.
It is, these images.
They've done a lot of projects.
Yeah, these images are actually from Milwaukee.
I was just gonna say, where are these buildings?
These are in Milwaukee, so these were funded by their RLF program. So just some before and after shots there.
They actually help people all over the country, and they are really thrilled to be working with Green Bay to get our RLF working as well as theirs. So they're like, hey, you're a sister city to us. It's like we are really looking forward to working with somebody else in Wisconsin. So it's going to be great dollars to use for these projects, and we have a great mentorship started with working with their community. So
Yep.
I think it's a win-win for everybody. We're going to learn a lot. Hopefully we can help share some of our stuff with them, and it should be a good fit.
Yep. We also finalized our loan agreement template here the past few weeks. So we are ready to get these dollars out the door. Give it another plug. So if you know any developers that are interested in some financing to clean up brownfields, send them our way. I mentioned the cleanup grant for the Badger Sheet Metal site. We have an open cleanup grant for the shipyard site. This was $500,000 we received a couple years ago. We have drawn down almost half of that. The site is currently under construction for phase 1. We've done a ton of work out here already with remediating the contamination. We brought in 4 to 6 feet of soil, clean soil to cap the contaminated soil underneath. I did throw in, this is the site on the left. You can see we've done a lot of dirt work. And then on the right, we've got some images of our actual phase 1 construction underway. These two photos were taken back this past fall. We did hit a snag. Once we started doing some of the initial excavation along the shore, they did identify some problems with the tieback system of the bulkhead wall. That sheet pile wall there has been in place for 80 plus years. It wasn't until we were able to really excavate into there when we were able to determine the condition of that structure, and unfortunately it was not in good shape, so we had to make some repairs to that tieback system of that wall, which really slowed down the total timeline bed. But they've been making those repairs over the course of the winter months. Here's a few more photos of construction. That's our new tieback system. So that is actually in place now, is my understanding. And we are getting ready to start putting in some of the stormwater infrastructure here along the shore. The riverfront promenade will be going in. The landscaping, fishing pier, floating docks will all be going in here this summer. And this should be ready for the public by the end of the year, if not hopefully sooner, for phase 1. Phase 2 will hopefully be getting started with the following year, and that will entail the dog park, the great event lawn, beer garden. So that is all moving forward.
Any other questions for Matt? Environmental report? Biofuel programs update? Okay. Director's report, I will skip mine tonight because you guys have had enough thrown at you, but if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer any. Any projects going in town you'd like to have any questions, certainly you can ask here or shoot me an email anytime. I'd be happy to answer those. With that, the proposed date for the next meeting is May 1st, 2023.
Day after we get back from Vegas.
Hey, all right, so Jim's buying for when he comes back, all that money he's gonna bring back.
How much of a gamble, but it's a union convention.
Only takes one quarter, right?
Yeah. I did that the first time I went there and I got like triple something. The guy tapped me on the shoulder. He said, "You should have put another quarter in."
Twice.
All right, if there's no other business, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Quick question.
Oh, absolutely, Alderman.
In our protection of policy meeting, we recently changed our meeting schedule from 5:30 to 6, whatever, because one of our other alderpersons couldn't get out working there. Is this set up for 5? It says 6 on all the things that were sent to my calendar. It says we start at 6.
is what the agenda actually
5.
says. Yeah, it says, well, yeah, I think we had it at 5 on the, yeah, this
So we-
agenda. We can double check that one, Alder, if that works better.
On my automatic calendar, it's 6
It's
o'clock.
saying 6, that's
And it
interesting.
shows all of them, the whole thing automatically loaded into my calendar and it says
Huh.
6. But is it, do we have to keep it at 5 because of the convenience for staff
It says
to be
5.
here?
No, we just,
I
I think.
think what
Mine goes right to
happened,
5.
yeah, I
Mine's
think what
in
happened
calendar,
was
too.
Plan Commission is also on Monday evening,
Okay.
and typically EDA is fairly quick, doesn't usually go over an hour, and so we still had time to do our Plan
Sorry.
Commission at 6 o'clock.
Sorry. That's okay. No, I mean, if that's, we can always take a look at the time, Alder, if there's, someone wants to, if it works better, we can always take a look at that one, so we can send that out.
I'll be running in a baseball uniform at most meetings.
We're okay with that, that's okay.
That means I'll be leaving in the second inning.
Okay. Making a
We can
request to
ta-
take a look at that?
We can put that on for discussion at the
Nice
next.
to find out
Yep.
if that's a possibility.
Absolutely.
Move it to 6, okay.
Would
Yeah.
back, or, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, I went through all my calendars, they all said 6.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I
Jim's
know when I
Jim's
got-
came in okay at 5, and mine came in
I
at
pulled it off
5.
the email that I was sent
Yeah,
a
Yeah,
long time ago, and I just put it on the calendar.
we'll have to double check, we'll follow up with you on our, if that's, see, is that the only meeting that's doing that to you, or
No.
are any other ones jumping ahead an hour on you, or just that one?
just the
Just that
whole
one.
year.
Okay.
All these, I bet you if I go to my,
We
which
can-
is it?
I think Lisa will send out
See, yeah,
a
mine
is-
poll to
It
find
says
out.
6 o'clock for May 1st.
Well, see, maybe, I'll have to
And
double check
that's
that one.
automatically loaded, I didn't
Yeah.
enter that stuff.
Okay,
Check with Lisa.
yeah, we'll double check that one,
I just
absolutely.
went off the email and then hit
Yeah.
calendar. and-
That's
We'll
what
double check.
I did.
Yep, we'll double check that one.
All right, well, thank you.
No problem, but thanks for raising that, we'll double check, we want to make sure everybody's got the right time, so. All right, if there is no other business, entertain a motion to adjourn.
adjourn?
All right,
I'll second that.
all right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? All right, thank you, everybody. Thanks, guys.
Recording stopped.